Hi, sixth grade Success Center. I hope you're doing okay. We're going to be working on page 86 out of the packet that was sent home with you. So let me circle that real quick. So page 86. Before we begin, we've done for the last two videos, which would be the last 2 weeks, we've done problems, and let me switch to those. Oops, not there. Let me switch to them down here. Okay. We've done problems that have been dealing with rates and ratios. There's one way that we've worked these problems this whole time. We've used a box that looks like this, okay? And we've set things up inside that box, and it's just our thinking box. It's nothing magical. It just organizes our thoughts, okay? And so if I were to go to the next page, so this is what we did 2 weeks ago. This is what we did last week. Okay, same way. We've set these up in that type of box. We've thought through it in that type of box. Even this one could have been set up on that type of box, only it was a little easier to work with. So we didn't set it up in that box, but we could have. So just want to let you know about that. So I hope that you have a pencil, you have your paper ready, and that you're ready to begin. To remind ourselves as we work, we are using a thinking strategy the whole time. You can't solve a problem unless you can make yourself understand it or try to understand at least part of it. And by doing that, we circle numbers. We understand the question and where the question is and what it's asking. We box our action words that will tell us to multiply or divide many times. We evaluate what we know. That means we write it down. Let's think about it. What steps am I going to take? We eliminate anything we don't need. And you show your work and check your answers. You go, does that even make sense? Ask yourself those questions. But here we go. So we're on page 86, and we're going to start on number 1. What I'm going to do this time is, just like before, I'll read the question. You need to pause the video, make sure that you are doing the problem before you come back, and then we'll check it together. This is what this problem says. The table below shows the total time it took different restaurants to make deliveries. So we have our restaurants, they're all pizza restaurants, the number of deliveries they made, and the amount of time it took to make that many deliveries, okay? So for instance, Pizza Pete's made 8 deliveries in a total time of 72 minutes, and so on through the rest of the information. Based on the information in the table, which restaurant can deliver 1 pizza in the shortest amount of time? Well, that's really important, okay? So we want to know 1 pizza, and it needs to be the shortest amount of time. So that means that we're looking for a little number, doesn't it? Okay, so I want you, knowing what we've learned over the last 2 weeks, I want you to solve number 1, but don't come back, okay, until you have an answer and you've worked it out. All right, pause the video and go work. All right, I don't have the final answer marked here, but I do want you to look through one of the ways, or I actually wrote a couple of the ways you could have thought this problem out, okay? We have number of deliveries and total time. So if I came over here, okay, if you'll look at my box, because I can still set it up in that box, it's just a thinking box. It helps you organize your thoughts. I have minutes, or I could have put time there, and then I have deliveries. So here I have 72 minutes, and 8 deliveries happened in that time. But what if I had 1 delivery? How many minutes would that take? So I need to then do what I know to do. Multiply going diagonally, divide by this number, which look, is just making me divide the minutes by the deliveries. Some of y'all may have already thought of to do that, okay? So 72 divided by 8 is 9, okay? So I know that they can deliver a pizza in 9 minutes. So if I come over here and I look at this one, Okay, this was another way to think of this same thing for Pizza Pete's. Okay, I could have set it up in a T-chart or a table, and I'd say, okay, deliveries and minutes. I want to know what one delivery, how many minutes it takes. I could have worked my way through. I could have said worked my way backwards. Okay, so if I could figure out, what would be my my rule for this table maybe, and I'd say 8 times 9 equals 72. And if I worked my way up, I could have said, 7 times 9 is 63. Anyway, I could have built a whole table that went with all of this information. There's several different ways you could have done it. But if you worked your way through, okay, Pizza Town can deliver one delivery in 8 minutes. Polly's Pizza can do 11, okay, and that's because 96 divided by 12 is 8. 66 divided by 6 is 11. It's just coming down to the one thing we need, isn't it? And then 72 divided by 6 is 12. And which one of those is the shortest amount of time? We look over here. Okay. Per delivery, that means for one delivery, this one takes less time. So Pizza Town is going to be our answer there. Okay. Let's look at number 2. On a particular map, the scale is 1 inch to 12 miles. That means on a map, if you were to measure an inch, it would equal 12 miles of distance. How many inches represent 60 miles on the map? Let's do our cubes before I send you away. Okay, we have 1 inch to 12 miles. I'm going to move that just a little bit here so it's not covering that up. 1 inch to 12 miles. And then I have how many inches? So I want this, I want it in inches. Okay, this was also in inches, so I'm good. I don't have to do any converting of my units. What would represent 60 miles on the map? Pause. Okay, is it going to be A, B, C, or D? And do your math for that. Pause and let's see if we match each other. Okay, let's look and see how I set it up. You didn't have to set it up the same way, but this is the way that we have been solving the other problems. Okay, so I set up my little thinking box here. Okay, I even made it a little differently just to make it fun. I put the little stem out this side and I put inches and miles because we were talking about inches to miles. So those are my two things. 1 inch is 12 miles. Well, they told me that this is the units miles, so I wanted to put 60 with the miles part of my thinking box. And what I'm trying to find are the inches. So I did 60 times 1 divided by 12. So that's 60 divided by 12. And what do you get? 5. So 5 inches would be the 60 miles on the map. Okay, let's look at number 3. Of 10 students surveyed in a school, 7 picked summer as their favorite season. If the school has 350 students, how many can be expected to prefer summer? Survey is like a vote. Okay, let's go back and think of what we have as our information. 10 students were surveyed. Let's go ahead and put surveyed underlined too. And 7 of the 10 picked summer. So 10 goes with students, 7 go with the season summer. Now, we're going to compare it to the whole school. If the school has 350 students. So 350 goes with students. How many can be expected to prefer summer? So we're going to prefer summer. So we're going to be looking at the summer numbers again. I'd like for you to pause the video, solve the problem, come back. Let's see if we solved it the same way. Pause now. All right, let's look and see how it's set up. Okay, so I have students right here and those who chose summer. So I have ST for students, SUM for summer. Okay, they could have been switched. You just have to make sure you put the right numbers across from them. So for my students, I have 10 students, 7 of those chose summer. What if we were to poll the whole school? I had 350 students. How many approximately would choose the summer then? Okay, so what we do is we circle up our numbers here, and that would be 350 times 7. Okay, you should have gotten 2,450. Then we divide that by 10. So we come over here, and if we were to put that in there, and I'm not going to do all of the dividing by this because I've already mentioned how you divide by 10. It's easy to divide by 10. 10 has 1 0. If I were to chop it off, then I would have to do the same thing over here. What am I left with? 245 divided by 1. Well, my answer's 245. Okay. Easy to divide by 10 if there's zeros in the number. Okay. Let's go up to number 4. And on number 4, it says, Ellie bought the fruit shown in the table below. I'm thinking this table right here is looking a lot like this table over here. Think about how we solve these type of tables. Which of the following lists the fruit in order from most expensive per ounce to least expensive per ounce? So I need to get this straight in my head, so we need to do our cube strategy. Do we ever solve a problem without it? Never. We think it through. So it says, which of the following lists the fruit in order? We want to go in order from most expensive to least expensive. And they're both per ounce, so that's good. So we want to make sure that, and see how we're going horizontally. So we want to make sure, I want to make sure that we are going from most all the way down to the least. Okay. Always good to mark up your page. Make sure you're double checking those type things. How will we solve this? Pause, come back, and we'll talk about it. Okay, I have some a little example of some of the thinking that could go into this. Okay, so I just have a box to help me organize my thoughts here. And I know that I have the cost in dollars, and then I have ounces. So I just started with the apples here. So that's the first thing that I grabbed was the apples. Okay, and so I said they cost $3.30 for 3 ounces. Well, I can't compare all of these. If all of these had been 3 ounces, this would have been easy to do, but only 2 of them were 3 ounces. So, you know, I kind of have to know what the cost per ounce is before I can compare to see which one is most expensive to least expensive per 1 ounce. And that's what this per is telling us. Per ounce, okay, for 1 ounce. And to do that, in my thinking, I set it up and I said, okay, for 1 ounce, what would it cost? There's my X. Multiply, divide. Well, it's just like this one over here. All we're going to be doing is taking the first number and dividing it into the second number. But we do have decimals in this one. So we have to be careful to make sure we place our decimal properly. So we'd have 3 will go into 3 once, and then we go through our steps of does McDonald's sell cheeseburger thing, right? And then we drop And then we divide again. 3 will go into 3 once. See how I already have the decimal placed? Okay, 1 times 3 is 3. Okay, and then that's 0. But we do have another drop here, so I need to drop that. And 3 goes in. If you ever do a drop, you have to divide. 3 doesn't go into 0, so we have to say 0 times. So the per ounce for these is $1.10. Now I'm not going to go through all of the dividing, but if I had divided $4.20 by 4, okay, I would have gotten $1.05 here. And for this one, I would have gotten $1.90. So then I need to go through and I need to organize. Okay, well, I'm going to use a different color for that. Which one of these is the most expensive per 1 ounce? Per means 1 ounce. Okay, well, obviously it's the strawberries. So we're going to say strawberries need to be first in my list. Okay, the next one would be apples. And then the next one would be pineapples. So I'm looking for a list that says strawberries, apples, pineapples. And I found it here, strawberries, apples, pineapples. All right, last question for the day. Okay, and remember, we're working on rates and ratios today. To make a poster, Trina enlarged a 4-inch by 6-inch picture. One side of her poster is 24 inches long, which is a possible length for the other side of the poster. Okay, so we have to go through and we have to find a length that would be logical here, okay, or it's possible to happen. So let me grab a little skinnier pen. So I was taking something that was a 4 by 6. That's how we do dimensions, 4 by 6. And then it was being enlarged into a something by 24. Now, we're not exactly sure, but there are different ways that we can do this. But I wanted to give you a picture to put in your head first, okay? So we have a picture. We are going to enlarge something. Okay, so we enlarged it. And we know only one side of that poster that this little picture is going to get enlarged into. It's 24 inches long. So we want a possible length for the other side of this poster. Pause the video, do your math. Same thing, guys, just think about how it's working, okay? And then come back and we'll check. Okay, let's look at this final problem. Now on here, this problem you have to do a little bit of a guess and check, and that's why I have 2 different solution thinking boxes over here. They didn't tell us whether the 24 inches on the enlargement was a length or a width. So I kind of have to do 2 problems here or find which one is going to be the right answer. So since they didn't tell me that, I know that dimensions are length by width. So if I look here and I make my length 6 and my width 4, and then I put a 24 and say, what if the length was 24? I could solve the problem like that. Or they didn't tell me that this 24 was a length. What if it were a width? So I also did that down here. So I said the length is 6, the width is 4, but maybe the width of this poster is 24. See how I changed it up there? So if I did all the math on this one, 4 times 24 divided by 6, well, 4 times 24 is an easy problem, it's 96. And 96 divided by 6 is 16. Well, I see that the answer, I have an answer right here, but I wonder what the answer would have been over here. So I have a 6 times 24, well, that's 144. And 144 divided by that 4 right there, would have given me 36, which was not as on here as a choice. That's why they say, what's the possible length? Well, it could have possibly been 16, or it could have possibly been 36. 16 was the only answer that they gave us for that one. Okay, so sometimes you have to do a little bit of a guess and check before you find your answer when not all of the information was completely clear in the problem. Now, 6th grade. So good to see you again on our video. I know that some people are giving up and they're not watching all the videos, but I really do applaud those who are coming and watching. Thank you so much. Stick with Study Island too. I'm checking your Study Island almost daily to see if people are getting on there and doing the Study Island work. I also want to remind you that Study Island has reading. I'll let your reading teacher know if you are also doing some Study Island reading. Get on there. My expectations are at least 30 minutes a week on Study Island. Put in more if you can. Waiting for those gold medals and blue ribbons to show up on Study Island for 6th grade. But we've come to the end of this video for this week of April 27th through May 1st. Hope you have a great rest of your week. I miss you guys. Wish you all the best for the rest of the week, but bye-bye for now.